As you can see, the Executive Committee of the USJC have done very well. We start off the program with a real professional economist. Now I have the privilege of introducing to you a person who was a young Alaskan fisherman 35 years ago. He fished for salmon in Alaskan waters. Then suddenly he decided he's going to change his career, and he applied for a job at Boeing. He became an aircraft mechanic. Today, after going through the vice president in charge of sales for Latin America, North America, vice president in charge of sales for Asia, Japan, China, Korea. He is now the president and chief executive officer of the Boeing commercial airplanes and the executive vice president of Boeing Company. Now, you want to meet someone who started from there and came up there. Our next speaker is the man, Raymond Connor.
I don't know how the heck that happened, but it did. But the first thing I want to do is I want to thank the Senator. In particular, I want to thank him for his personal dedication to the men and women that serve our country. And I think we should all give him a big hand for that. You know, all of us are here today together. We represent the efforts of Irene and Senator Inouye. We are here today as a result of their vision and dedication to something important to each of you and to the U.S. and Japan. And I'm also pleased to be here with, and I'm not going to call you acting, Secretary Blank. You have been a strong proponent of growing American exports, and especially exports of aerospace products like Boeing commercial airplanes, and thank you very much for that. I don't know if the people in Seattle recognize this, but we have grown our employment here over the last year, about 10,000 people. And when you think about that, that's pretty remarkable. And we continue to grow, and we're going to be shipping a lot of airplanes out of Everett and Renton for a long time. So it's going to be terrific. So on behalf of Boeing, we are truly grateful to the commitment and advocacy shown by each of you. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's through my time at Boeing that I've had the opportunity to build my own personal friendships in Japan. The values and principles held by the people of Japan have truly touched my life in many ways. You know, clearly we are allies, but on a deeper level, we are far more than just that. We are bound to each other in our mutual respect and concern on both a personal level and through our business relationships. Now, if I'd just like to take a minute and talk about the Boeing-Japan alliance. There are many examples of U.S.-Japan business cooperation. However, Boeing-Japan relationships, the Boeing-Japan relationship has been held up as one of the world's most powerful industry collaborations. Our partnership with Japan is built on a foundation of personal relationships developed over many, many years. In our business relationships with Japan, we have learned to mirror the very values that are deeply ingrained in the fabric of the Japanese culture. There is not a relationship in the world like the one that we have with Japan. Nowhere do we have the kind of relationship that we have with the Japanese country, the industry, and the airlines. Building airplanes is an amazing endeavor. It's about putting together millions of parts with the combined efforts of thousands of engineers, machinists, and companies in a global supply chain. There is simply no tolerance for error. Our airplanes are incredible machines. They must deliver the highest operational efficiency, reliability, and safety in the world. The values that we must have in our business are the same values that the Japanese hold so important in their personal lives as well as in their business operations. For this reason, Japan and Boeing were destined as natural allies. Next year, we'll celebrate our 60th anniversary of our operations in Tokyo, which began in a small office in 1953. Like many relationships, this one had humble beginnings. The office had a budget of $1,000 with 5 directors, all of which were located in the United States. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but a lot of things didn't then. It took more than a decade, if you can believe it, before we sold our first commercial jets to Japan, and those were 727s, the airplane that I started on. And those went to ANA and to Japan Airlines in 1964. Today we have more than 200 employees living in Japan, and over the decades we've had countless Japanese engineers, technicians, managers come to Seattle to become part of our community, raising their families and participating in the design and the building of our airplanes. Conversely, we've done the same, going to Japan, living and working as part of the Japanese community. Since 1953, we've come a long way in our industrial partnership. In the past decade, 80%, now that's just a beautiful number, 80% of all the commercial airplanes ordered by Japanese airlines have been Boeing aircraft. And for that, I want to thank all the people in Japan Airlines. That's terrific. We're also a major supplier of equipment and aircraft to the Japanese Ministry of Defense. In addition to that, we are the customer of and a partner with the Japanese aerospace industry. 68 Japanese companies are suppliers for Boeing products, which we estimate translates into about 43% of the total Japanese aerospace employment. So we're also a big partner to the Japanese economy as well. And I'm pleased to say that the Japanese government has also been heavily involved at both the policy and strategic level around the technology and new developments. Over 6 decades, the Boeing and Japan relationship represents everything that we're talking about today. Successful and creative collaboration, incredible innovation, and the importance of personal relationships that have the power to overcome huge challenges that we all sometimes face. 25 years ago, I made my first trip to Japan. I was in our supplier management organization, and I went over to work with our Japanese suppliers. It was my first international trip, so needless to say, I was a little intimidated and a little overwhelmed. But soon I fell in love with the Japanese people and the Japanese culture. And since then, for the last 27 years, I think I've made hundreds of trips to Japan, and I can tell you it's still my favorite place to go in the world. Later, I led the Boeing sales organization in Asia, which allowed me to expand my relationships with the Japanese customers that operate the airplanes. In dealing with them, it became clear that they demand from us only what they demand from themselves: efficiency, reliability, impeccable customer service, and most of all, quality. They expect the best from Boeing, and as a result, they've set the standard very high. We are a better company today, and we create better products today because of the expectations that the Japanese customers have put on us. Together, we've designed and manufactured products and services that have forged a very strong and inclusive collaboration between us. And because of their demand for the leading-edge products and services, Boeing has in turn become much more globally competitive. I think the 747 is a perfect example of that collaboration. How many of you have flown on a 747? Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this, but Japan Airlines ordered 108 of those airplanes. And I had the personal privilege of delivering the 100th 747. Nobody in the world has ordered that many of the 747s. Now, a lot of the reasons why they did is because that's really was kind of Japan's airplane. They helped us design it, and they played an enormous role in the operation and success of the airplane. But probably the best example of the Japan-Boeing collaboration is the 787. We call that airplane, we like to say this aircraft is made with Japan. Over 30% of the airplane is made in Japan today. How many know where the wings are made in Japan? Mitsubishi makes the wings for that airplane. That's the first time Boeing has ever put a wing outside of the Puget Sound. And it's no coincidence that the first two airlines to operate the airplane were Japanese. ANA was the first to take the airplane, and Japan Airlines was the second. And both have had tremendous input into the design and characteristics of the airplane, and just recently reaffirmed their commitment and belief in the aircraft by ordering a significant number of more. ANA was the first to operate the airplane, and Japan Airlines was the first to fly the airplane to the United States, to Boston. This week, ANA opened up its service from Seattle to Tokyo, and I'm happy to say that I'll be flying on that next week to come back from Tokyo. From an industrial perspective, just as many companies did, we have done a lot of work with the Japanese industry. Companies like Fuji, Mitsubishi, Kawasaki have also played an enormous role in our success. Today, Japanese manufacturers provide assemblies on every one of Boeing commercial airplanes. No other country has that kind of responsibility. We began our manufacturing relationship with Japan 30 years ago. Over time, the partnership became vital to the future of Boeing's global competitiveness, and I believe the future of Japan's aerospace industry. As we move forward in an increasingly competitive market, our partnership and relationship will be more important to our mutual success more than ever before. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this relationship and what it means. And I want to use an example and a story that really touched me more than anything I think I've ever experienced. We've talked a lot about the history, and we've talked a lot about the business and partnership with Japan, but I'd like to share a story that, to me, culminates completely what the Boeing-Japan partnership is really about. The tsunami disaster on March 11th washed away the lives and homes of thousands of Japanese. It was sudden. It was destructive to all those involved, including our customers, our suppliers, and even our Boeing employees. Now, just like a lot of companies, we jumped in with aid and started to provide as much help as we possibly could. But the real hero in this whole thing for us was a company in Sendai. It was a company that works directly with our engine manufacturer, GE. It's an IHI company, and it was severely damaged by the earthquake. 200 people lost their homes that worked for IHI. 40 of those people lost family members. Now, they make these components for the GE engines. Those engines power our 787. Half of the 87s today are powered by GE, but almost 100% of our 777 are powered by GE engines. So they could have shut down our production. Now, the people in IHI management team there decided that they would come together and get this factory back up and running. IHI provided them homes, provided them food, and they began to go to work. So by April, if you can believe this, they had the factory machines back up and running. They worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to do this. Machines were back up and running in April, and by May, they were back to full production. And we did not miss a single delivery. And people ask me, why do you do so much work in Japan? That's why. The dedication, the commitment, the sense of honor and duty is like no other place in the world. Now, the really neat thing about this was the fact that the Boeing company, when everyone else was leaving Japan, our employees stayed. And in fact, our employees went there and with more, and we helped them get this factory back up to speed. This wasn't with our contract. This wasn't our supplier, but we went and we helped. We helped all around the Japan, helping the other suppliers get back up and running. And I think it just speaks volumes for what this relationship's really about. To me, it's the perfect statement of our mutual commitment to one another. Over the next 20 years, we are forecasting a demand of 34,000 new airplanes. That's $4.5 trillion. So, Secretary, that's going to be pretty good. The global fleet is expected to double over the next 20 years into 2033, and all told, it's an enormous opportunity not only for us but for our partners in Japan. We see a future of opportunities continuing of collaborating and innovating together, from technologies that improve design, manufacturing, and the efficiencies of our airplanes to a wealth of possibilities that have yet to be invented. Maybe we'll do the next generation of 787. At the end of the day, though, the Boeing-Japan story is about people, just like the people of IHI. It's about trust, and it's about respect that binds them. It's about engineers designing amazing airplanes together. It's about factory workers building the most efficient way possible, and it's about airlines who serve their passengers. We owe a tremendous amount of our success to our Japanese customers and suppliers. We have mutually helped each other to become the leaders at building the most advanced airplanes in the world. For 60 years, the U.S.-Japan relationship has provided the foundation for growth, prosperity across the Asia-Pacific region. We have a shared destiny, just like everyone talks about, and I believe the future between Japan and the U.S. is very bright. Like I said, next week, I'm going to be traveling to Tokyo, and on my way back, I'm going to be flying the ANA airplane. And when I look out that window, I'm going to see those wings that were built at Mitsubishi, and I'm going to think about this day right here with all of you and all of the things that you've been doing to build and strengthen this relationship. And with that, I just want to say thank you.